Hey everybody, my name is Mackenna Moralez and I am the Assistant Editor for both Supply and Demand Chain Executive and Food Logistics. And I just want to thank you for tuning in to Unsung Heroes. And I know that if you have seen a few of the episodes before, you're probably used to me just jumping right into the interview. But this one's a little different. It's very special to me because I am interviewing my dad. And so you've probably heard me talk about my dad on Link Live or the Link podcast. You probably heard me write about him too, but my dad has always been my hero. He just proves every day that all superheroes wear capes. He has proven so much to me and more what it means to be a hard worker, and it only has been proven more during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we talk a little bit about it, but my dad does work for a chemical company, and when the pandemic first started back in March, he and his staff got kind of slammed and started making hand sanitizer, and we all know how much of a hot commodity that was. But I just wanted to give a clarification that he is my dad. So enjoy this video with Michael Moralez. I'm very excited that you get to watch it. All right. So, Dad, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Well, I started at the company that I'm working for back in '79. I worked for them for 5 years. I transferred over to the sister company, ended up moving out to Watertown, where I worked out there for 30 years. And after 35 years total, I retired for a short period. After 4 years of being retired, I decided to go back to work. Came back to the company to see if they had any openings. They did. They hired me back. And back into warehousing again, shipping and receiving.
And then what does your company specialize in?
Raw materials for many things, cleaning products, paint thinners, and right now we're doing a lot of things for sanitizing, hand sanitizers, hand wipes, and whatnot.
So basically just like a lot of the stronger materials that you might find in industrial kitchens, right?
Well, it's nothing finished. It's all raw materials. So we deal in totes, 275 gallons, 330 gallons, 55-gallon drums, 30-gallon drums, the bigger containers. Mm-hmm. So, but it's nothing finished. It's nothing that we can buy at work and take home for our own use.
Right. So, just like the part of the materials.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then what was your role like before the pandemic started? Because you mentioned that you're in shipping and receiving. So what was that like before you guys got slammed?
It was a little busier. We were busy every day. Working in a food processing warehouse, we have to always make sure everything is clean and kept up, spider free and rodent free, and everything is always, the floors and everything are always swept and everything. So being as busy as we were, we had, harder times being able to do that. Now that the pandemic has set in, we're dealing a lot with all of the sanitizing material. Mm-hmm. If we lost any customers, or if they temporarily have closed down or something, we've gained it with our sanitizing business. But it's slowed down a bit, where we find ourselves having a little more time to do all the necessary things we need to keep the auditors happy.
Mm-hmm. So. And then, because it's essentially a clean warehouse, we talk about this a lot on Food Logistics about regulations, and you guys can't have beards at all, and it's mostly men. Correct. That work in the warehouse.
Well, we don't have beards mostly in the event that we have to put a respirator on.
Yeah.
So at our manufacturing plant, where they do all the manufacturing, there's some areas where they have to have a respirator on all the time. Mm-hmm. In the warehouse part of it where I work, we would only use them for an emergency, but you have to be beard free.
Mm.
So,
but you didn't have to be beard free at your other company. You were working with soap.
at my other company, we did not have to be beard free, but they took precautions with beard nets and things like that when they were a mixer.
Mm-hmm.
I myself was a supervisor back then,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly didn't need to. I had a goatee for many years, and when I started working here, I had to shave it off, which my adult children even said to me they'd never seen me without a beard before. So
No. now I'm just used to it. But let's just talk about your supervisor job really well, because I have mentioned before that I'm a first generation college student and that you were a supervisor at a warehouse and you worked your way up. What was that process like?
Showing up every day, just doing the work, doing what I needed to do, doing the hard work and not doing all of the complaining, and just showing them that I could be a responsible employee. From there I went to a lead person, and then after being a lead person for a year, they split the duties of the shipping and receiving, and they made me the receiving supervisor.
Mm.
So, and then I was a supervisor for well over 20 years. I don't know exactly, but it was that long ago. So,
So you mentioned about how when the pandemic first started, you kind of switched to more sanitation products. But how has that changed your job for better or for worse?
The only thing that's really changed is how the company supports the pandemic. As far as when we come into work, we have to take our temperatures. We have to use hand sanitizer, take our temperatures. We sign in that we did everything, and then we have to mask up, and we wear masks, all day long.
Right. And they provide that for you.
They provide it for us. Yeah, they've been very good about providing the PPE that we needed, and the sanitizing that we needed, and that's with that in mind. The only thing that's really changed is that we have to get the visitors to also do the same thing. We have a sink outside for the drivers before they even come in to wash up. And then when they come in, they are required to wear a mask. If they do not want to wear a mask, then we don't take care of them. They can either mask up or they have to leave.
And then, were they providing PPE before the mask mandate started in Wisconsin?
Well, not a mask, but they had them.
Yeah.
If you needed something, any PPE that we ever needed for hairnets, gloves, protective aprons, anything like that, they always provided everything.
Yeah. How do you maintain social distancing in the warehouse? I know your particular group is kind of small.
Yeah, well, the crew that I work with is small, and we drive forklifts, so we're not like working together. We're always working on kind of individually or independently. And the only time that we ever are together is when we have a shift meeting in which we do a social distance at the table, and otherwise, even when working with the drivers, they have a mask, we have a mask, and we keep a distance. I'm on top of a forklift, they're down at the bottom by their truck, and that's how we communicate.
Right, a lot of shouting.
Yeah.
Get a little hoarse at the end of your visit.
It's not always business. It's, a lot of fun sometimes too. So,
Are there any technologies in your warehouse? Because I think you said that everything is still pretty manual.
It's still a lot manual, except for the computers, and some of us older guys weren't that well, used to using computers. Once they come up with something new, that we have to learn that, but they don't do anything as far as scanning the stuff,
There's no picking and packing robots yet?
No, not at all.
No, it's just
no, it's just us.
It's just you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that would help at all?
It could. It would take some getting used to. I think by the time they ever get to that point, I might be retired again.
Because you're old. I can say this because you're my dad. But just like that repetitive movement all day, especially I guess when you worked at your old job and you were younger, that had a lot of wear and tear on you, right?
It was, I think at my older job, when I wasn't a supervisor and I was working in production, it was a lot more lifting, and a lot more repetitive work.
Mm-hmm.
At this job here, it's more forklift driving.
Yeah.
There is some lifting. The only repetitive is when you're just turning the steering wheel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you'll be surprised. I have arthritis in my shoulders, and doing all of that spinning around with your hands and everything, it does leave me personally, my old bones a little sore at the end of the night.
Yeah, so if you had an automated forklift, because they're coming out with those, you think that would be a little bit more beneficial?
What would they need me for then?
Well,
don't go there.
Well, you would still have to guide it, right? It would just do especially that motion for you.
Well, once again, I don't think that's anything that they're looking into. And if they did, it would be a while. And again, I might be gone by then. So.
Are there any in the field stories that you can share with me? And if so, has anything had a significant impact on you?
Not really. There hasn't been anything real exciting. Once in a while, you get a driver who doesn't want to go along with the rules. About them not being able to sit in their truck or having a mask up, or they have to be within eyesight in case something's happening while we're loading or unloading them.
Oh, so they can't walk away?
The LTL drivers will stay by their trucks. The over the road drivers who we load the whole truck or unload the whole truck, we allow them to go wait in the driving room, but there's picture windows that they can watch through and see us, and we can see them. But they have to stay in the building. They cannot go sit in their truck at all.
Yeah.
We have dock locks that we keep them in place all the time, and so they can't, even though they might sit in their truck, we still worry about them if they, for some reason, might pull forward a little bit or something. So we have to make sure everything's locked in, everything is safe.
Right.
And then keeping them in the building, they also have to have hard hats, safety glasses, and a mask. And especially during these times with the pandemic, they kind of balk at wanting to put a hard hat or safety glasses on. And we do have sanitation wipes for them to wipe everything down before they come out. Most of the drivers will do it. Some of them balk, and some of them just flat out won't do it. And that's when we have to give them the opportunity to either stay or leave. And it's only happened just a few times where a driver wouldn't stay, and it was mostly LTL drivers.
Where do they go then?
We have to either call somebody else to pick up the order, or we'll call their particular truck line again, and they'll send somebody else. But they'll just go on to another stop that they have and just skip us.
I wonder, how much does that backlog you then if they refuse?
It depends. If the company can get us somebody back here right away, it's not a problem. Otherwise, it's a day. We get them back here in a day. So the next day. So
it's not like a huge deal?
No, I mean, not to us. It might. I don't know if it would disappoint the customer. I don't know how fast they're expecting their product, but for the most part, we haven't had any backlash on any of that at all.
Especially since you work in a warehouse, you're in the middle. You're in the middle of the supply chain. And when something like that goes wrong, it just affects everyone, right?
Yeah. What we try not to do is to get into any arguments with the drivers. We tell them to go back to the window and speak to the the supervisor and the dispatchers, and they can decide, make the decision. We don't put it on us. And for the most part, we get a lot of the same drivers day in and day out, and we have a good rapport with everybody. So.
How fast are you able to load a truck?
Oh, it depends how busy we are. But if we get on a truck, again, it's all bigger products. It's like full skids of drums or totes or something. So if we have to have a load for like 18 totes, and we have to make sure we spread it out with spacers and everything, it could take anywhere from 20 minutes to half an hour. And if we have somebody,
that's not long.
No, and if we have somebody else that's available where we can double team them, they even go shorter. On average, I would say between 20 minutes and a half an hour.
And it's only one person that does it?
Yeah, because we have 8 doctors in the front, we have 2 in the back, so we're spread all over. And like I said, it's a short crew, and sometimes we're all working on a different truck.
Right.
So.
You probably know that you work second shift.
Yep.
So it might not be the same for first shift.
The first shift is much busier with the trucks, because they get a lot of receiving in the morning. When we come in on second shift, we help mop up with getting all the LTLs out and some of the late over the road drivers. Once that's all done, we unload our own shuttles, because we have our own shuttles that come in from the other building. They manufacture over there, but then they load a truck and bring them over by us to warehouse. And we get anywhere from 8 to 10 truckloads a day of stuff. So we end up doing the last 1 or 2 that's left, and then from there, then we're picking orders for the next day. So, and then by then, first shift is gone, bosses are gone, and it's just up to us to work independently and get the work done.
A lot of trust.
Yes.
To make sure that everything goes right.
Yeah, but we do it. So we give them reasons to feel good about it.
So. And then, do you think the future generations will be more likely to choose a career in the supply chain or warehousing? And if so, what advice do you have for them based on what you have learned, either this year or throughout your entire career?
Well, the advice I can give is just do a good, honest day's work. That's all. You come in with the idea that you're going to be there for 8 hours. I mean, listen, when they interview you, they say, we will give you this job at this amount of money. And if they agree to that, then that's the contract. So the company never does not pay them. They get paid every 2 weeks. So in return, the company expects them to do their job.
Right.
So, but as far as anything has changed, nothing has changed for us at all, other than the fact that it gets it's a little less busy right now.
What advice do you have for someone? Like if one of my friends came over and they were like, Papa Moralez, I want to be in warehousing, what would you tell them?
The only thing I would say, I don't know if future generations would be interested in just getting into warehousing. I would say that if they have an degree in engineering and then they want to help design the warehouse, that would be one thing. But to just get into warehousing, I think it's just a matter of them looking for a job. Okay, so once they get the job, the advice that you get them is, number one, is to always be safe. Always be safe, because you're driving a forklift and you can do a lot of damage with a forklift if you're not careful, and so the most part is to be safe. Don't rush, and then just put in an honest, day's work. If you show everybody, not only the bosses, but your peers, that you're learning and that you can do it and that you just keep up with everything, it's up to you. It's up to you how long you want to be there.
Right.
Some people do make a career out of it. and some people just move on. It's their own preference.
How do you think we could recruit more younger people to be in the warehouse? Like, not necessarily people that needed to, not necessarily in the positions where you need a degree, though.
Well, the one thing that the company offers is if you recommend somebody, there's a little money involved. And if they stay for the first 6 months, if I would have recommended you and you were there for 6 months, I'd get a payment. If they stay there for a year, then I get the other half of the payment. Okay, so that's one way to get the employees involved in helping recruit. Otherwise, it's out there. The company has changed a few things where they have risen their starting pay and have offered vacation times. And the company that I work for, benefit-wise, we get a lot more than what some companies do. As far as profit sharing and a 401k, we get them both. Along with a pension. And some places don't offer that, and we can, and that's something that we also bring up.
And then, how do you think things will change post-pandemic? Do you think any of the current regulations you have will stay in place?
I do. I think some of the safety factors of it, as far as it not happening again, will stay in place for a while. We'll keep the sinks outside, and we do have a restroom for them to use. I think we'll still keep doing masks for a little while, but it'll be a choice then. It'll be a choice if they want to or not. Hard hat safety glasses is always a rule. That's not going to go away.
Right.
But the masks, I think that it'll still be a choice. So, but otherwise, anything else in our business, if some of the business that had to close down or had to slow down start picking up, it'll just make us busier again, which will be good.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if temperature checks will stay regulated for some businesses, because I used to go into work sick a lot.
Well, that's a good point. The company always said, if you're sick, stay home, because we don't want you to get anybody else infected. And that was just with a common cold or flu. So now with the pandemic, it's even more so.
Right.
So again, I think they might keep that in place for for a while, that it's a choice, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And then after a while, when they're seeing that things have slowed down and everyone's not doing it so much, then they'll let that lax then.
Yeah. And then I just have one question for you, because you're a busy man and also it's Saturday. So Dad, in your opinion, what does it mean to you to be considered an unsung hero?
Well, I guess I don't consider that at all. I think I'm just doing my job. Just go in, once again, just do an honest day's work. If I feel that I went in and I did what I could, I did all the right things, I got done what is expected of me, I just feel that I just do my job. That's all. And that's what they pay me for. In return, I expect a paycheck. So
yeah. Well,
that's it.
Thanks for keeping us safe.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's the point of the series, is that just to honor people like you who have kept the supply chain afloat for the last year and who have managed to keep us safe in the process. So all the work that you have done, putting out the sanitation materials, you're a hero, whether you want to believe it or not, because you have kept me safe. Well, you've kept me safe all my life, but you have kept millions of people safe too.
Well, it's a good thing to hear, but again, I just feel like I'm doing my job.
All right. Well, thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.